It's budget multi-effects time, and in this little box is the Sonicake Matribox, which is coming in at just over €100, which is an absolute crazy price if it's any good. So I'm going to go straight to the sound samples so you can decide for yourself. The first thing I have to comment is the fact that every preset on this Matribox is drowning in reverb. And once I reduced the reverb, the tones actually started to sound a lot better. So whoever set these presets loves a little bit of space. So every preset you hear in this video is not the original, but all I've done is reduced the level of reverb mix. And when I did that, that actually sounded pretty good. I am recording it via USB. So it's a stereo USB panned hard left and right. So if there's any ping-ponging, you should hear it with those headphones that you're wearing or those high-quality studio speakers. You might not hear it if you're listening through a smartphone. Anyway, I'm monitoring it through the FR12 speaker from Fender, and I have checked that what you're hearing and what I'm hearing are at least extremely similar. And with that preset, I'm pretty happy. That's a good high gain tone. But let's see if it does something more ambient. So that is a nice little patch called Dreamy, and it's a tape modulation into a Jazz 120. It's a JC 120 from Roland, that classic clean amp. And then I'm just looking at the screen here because I've also got the software up, so I'll put that on screen for you. It's a Supro 1x6 cab, tiny, and then some reverse delay, chorus, and a plate reverb. And while it might not be the biggest stereo ambient, highly defined ambient patch I've ever heard, it's certainly usable. And for, again, I'm saying the price again, for about $100, that's really, really good. And I'm sure I could improve that patch. But does it also funk? Let's find out. Right, I'm aware that in my reviews I can be somewhat over-positive, so there are some things about the Matribox sounds that I don't like, and I'll go into that later. However, this funk tone is one of the best funk tones I've ever played, and just plugging in that, albeit a custom shop telly, through this just sounds glorious and sounds record quality. And that tone, if you're looking for a funk tone, don't go out and buy a compressor for a little bit. Buy one of these, $100 or so, and that's going to get you that tone. It's brilliant. Right, but does it do rock? Can you use it for classic riffs? So that was a Plexi sort of preset, and for me this is where a lot of pedals and budget modelers really fall short of the mark. And the Matribox, while not being the most convincing amp sound in the room to me, certainly again does a good enough job. And I'm trying not to mention the price, but I am absolutely gobsmacked that it has this range of tones. No, that is not the best Plexi sound I've ever heard. It's also not the worst that I've spent more money on. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed that, and I could happily use that as either a backup or certainly on a record where something's buried in a, or not even buried in a mix, but in a mix with other stuff. But I want to know if it does some dropped C heavy riffage. So that was the Flyman B1 amp. I have no idea what kind of amp that could be. So if you recognize Flyman B1 as some kind of pun of a real amp, then let me know in a comment, because I'm very curious. But in the room with this drop C guitar, it was absolutely really fun to play. And that's one of those patches, presets that I could have played for a long time and really bored you to death with the same riff over and over again. But I think that's enough sound samples for now. Let's have a look at the pedal and talk about the build quality and whether you can actually use this on stage. So here it is. We've got two stompy switches, which do a number of things, and an expression pedal, which is your standard wah, expression, volume, etc. Then we've got a little LCD screen, which is really easy to read. Two massive buttons, which are main volume, or master volume, I should say. Then parameter switch, which you can also press, which takes you into the menu just there. Back will bring you back out. Save will unsurprisingly save something. And then you've got global settings, which again you can check with the parameters. Back out of that. And then drums. And one thing I found out whilst recording this video is the drums do not record via USB. But they do play through the speaker. So that was coming through my vocal mic right then. So if you're using a jack line out, you can get the drums to come through the speaker that you're monitoring. But if you're recording via USB, which you can, I don't know if I've mentioned that, it's got 44.1 kilohertz audio interface in there, but you can only record 2 tracks, whereas the more expensive stuff, you can record 3 or 4 tracks, giving you 2 wets and 2 dries. I say but, don't forget again how expensive this is. Not very. So if I hold down the drum button, it gives me the drum menu, and then I can press that. And that'll start them. And you've got all these different presets. Rock 1. They're not the best sounding drums in the world, but when you're grooving along with them, it kind of doesn't matter. There's no way I would use it for performance, but for practicing and for just making sure that you're keeping in time, I actually really liked it. And there's some presets in the drums that are weirdly named. And also the first preset is D and B, and normally preset number 1 is like Rock 1. That sort of surprised me, but that sounds good. Yeah, good. Then we've got BPM that you can change just there. And you've got sync for on or off, which is syncing it to the BPM of the pedal, which you can apparently tap tempo. I haven't found out how to do that yet. I will do in a minute. And then you've got drum volume. So I'm going to look in the global settings and see if there's a way to actually send the drums to one channel and then the guitar to another. Should have done that before making this video. So I had a look, and as far as I can see, you cannot send the drums to the left channel, for example, and the guitar to the right, thus sending drums to the PA and the guitar to an amp, I guess. That's a real shame. If I'm wrong there, by the way, Sonicake, please let me know, and I'll put a note and pin that as a comment. Let's have a look at the global settings, though, because I think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised. We do that by pressing global, and then we've got input, output, and this is very reminiscent of a certain multiprocessor made by Line 6. We've got these different parameter knobs down here, which are your global parameter knobs on everything. Down here we can adjust the inputs, and then this is brilliant. You can globally set no cab on both sides. So that means if you're going through a PA speaker or an FR speaker like I am, this is not a guitar amp, it just looks like one, then you need to have cab simulation turned on. And you can do that in every preset. Or you can do it globally so that every preset is set the same, because if you then want to put this Matribox through the effects return of a guitar amp with a guitar speaker in it, you can globally turn on the no cab, because you don't want a cab simulation going through an actual guitar cab, because then you're doing it twice and it'll sound terrible. Believe me, I've done it. To have that globally in something at this price is mind-boggling. Next page of the global is USB audio. Now, we've got unbelievably many options. We've got record level, so if you're finding that it's a bit too hot in the DAW, then just turn that down. If it's not loud enough, turn it up, of course. You know how volume works. Then you've got monitor level. Then the very cool thing here is you've got wet record mode for the left, and then you've got wet... Oh, hang on, go back. There. Second page of USB audio is wet record mode for the right, and you can change that to dry. And this means that when you're recording via USB with those two channels, left and right, stereo, one of them can be the sound that you're hearing, so that preset or that patch that you've made. The other one will be a dry signal, which is just like having your guitar plugged directly into the DAW. No processing done by the Matribox, or just the audio conversion, of course, but there's going to be no effects on it, giving you a clean signal so you can reamp that later. That's really cool, and I'm asking a lot, but I really, really wish it was 4-channel, or at least 3 channels, so you could have left and right from the Matribox, and then plus a dry signal. Anyway, let's put that back on wet, because I want it on, whoops, wet. Still getting used to that. There we go. Now, next page, tap tempo mode. So you can tap tempo, just effects 1, or effects 1. You can tap tempo everything, see? Or you can just tap tempo the things you want. Again, attention to detail I haven't seen in something of this price. Then we've got expression pedal setting. That is this thing here, of course. You can set the range, so you can just have a little bit of range, or the full range. Volume, you can just like have it maximum there and have it dip down maybe by a few decibels. So, there we go. So max is 99 and minimum I could set to 70-ish. Therefore, it only dropped down just a little bit. So if you want to leave it there and then kick in for a solo to go a bit louder, that's what that does. I'm aware that was kind of a speed run through of the global settings, but I am so surprised at how tweakable this thing is and how clever Sonicake have been in giving you all that functionality. It doesn't have the drums left and right. That would be something cool, and that must be able to be possible. Hang on. Let's just try and plug this here into the right output and see if the drums come through there. Maybe it's set there normally. No, it's coming through left and right. Oh, that's kind of a shame. But again, to be expected in a budget unit and fixable in a potential future firmware update. Sonicake, do that. It will add so much more functionality, so much more room for activities. Okay, I've purposefully put this 𝗦𝗪𝗥 out of tune so I can show you the tuner. You get there by pressing those buttons together at the same time. And I think that is such a clear tuner, and I like the way that you just have to tap those 2 buttons. So I'm going to tune. There you go, and it goes massive green. Is it really showing that well? So there's yellow, that's green. If you go too high or too low, there we go, there's a bit of red there. Can you see the red on the end? Amazing. I haven't found out how to do tap tempo yet. It says it's got it there. I don't know how to do it. I don't see a button anywhere for it. I've read the manual as well. There's nothing there. But this also has bass sounds. So let's hear some of those. Now, I'm not a bass player by far, but I would definitely use some of those tones in mixes. There's some great sounds there. Don't forget, just over $100. It also has acoustic guitar sounds. So I'm going to line up 3 different acoustics. The Fender Acoustasonic, the Plus from Mexico, my very expensive Taylor acoustic, and my very affordable Ibanez acoustic. Let's hear them all through the same patch. I just had a listen back to that, and firstly, I think the Acoustasonic sounds the best, hands down, even though it didn't sound that great in the room, so I'm not sure what that means. Also, 3 different guitars, same preset, 3 entirely different sounds, which says something about the buying and selling of presets. Anyway, this, if I haven't given you enough information about it already and shocked you with how much you can get for just over $100, it has software as well available for PC and for Mac. And here it is. And if you're not a fan of editing stuff on tiny little buttons on the floor, then you can edit it via USB via this software, which looks a lot like Helix Native. So that's definitely where they've got some inspiration, maybe a little bit of headrush in Studio One as well. But yeah, look at all those presets. Then you've got the users as well. You can import and export to a file. And then you can go in and change all these things on your computer rather than on the device itself. You can also put it in stomp mode. I don't know how you do that on the unit, but there it is on the software. Amazing. So if you haven't gathered already, there's a lot of stuff packed into this tiny box, and tiny it is. This is a Boss DS1W, and it is about the same height as a Boss compact pedal, and it's about the width of about the width of 3, just more than 3 Boss pedals. And with the expression pedal down, the Boss pedal is actually a little bit higher. And with it up, there's not much in it. One of the negative things about the small compact size is that the expression pedal is quite tiny. Yeah, this is much smaller than a Crybaby, for example, and these are fairly close together, but far enough away from the expression pedal. However, you might accidentally hit them together, bringing you into the tuner and killing your tone. To summarize, the Matribox from Sonicake is not the best sounding multi-effects pedal I've ever heard, but for this price, it is absolutely the top pedal I've ever played. This is $100 at the moment. I've just checked on Amazon, and €100 will get you all that stuff. And I can't think of the last time that something offered so much value. If you're a beginner, then absolutely try one of these. It is not worth you getting something more expensive than this, because this has everything you need, including a looper. Just press that, you've got a looper. The only thing I can't really speak for is the longevity and the customer support, but all the connections feel solid. It's USB-C. It feels, I'm pretty sure that's plastic, but it is a hard plastic. It might even be metal. No, it is metal. Let's have a look. It's metal that's metal. I don't know. Don't quote me on anything there, but what I'm trying to say, it's roadworthy. It's very rare that I'm so forceful with a recommendation, but if I could give this 11 stars out of 10, I would. It is absolutely fantastic. It's cheap. It'll do everything you need for most shows. I can't believe how good it is. Yeah, so links in the video description and first comment. There's a subscribe button if you want more from me. And as always, leave a comment to let me know what you think. But remember, it doesn't matter what you play. It matters why you play. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.